You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today. But before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them. Do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. And let's get into today's episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down in Moore today. Got a friend on the podcast. I always love interviewing friends because I get to know a lot more about them than I usually know. Thurman Lynch is on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast. We've played a little bit of golf together. I know you have an AllState insurance agency. I know you're a huge OU fan, particularly on the softball side because of your daughter, but also you did some military time as well, and congratulations on being recently accepted onto the board of CHF.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Which I know is a huge, love of yours. It's a big passion to support, and that's how we met, was through Jeremiah playing golf together, helping raising some money and awareness for CHF. So I guess we'll start off like we usually start off with this podcast, is right from the beginning. Tell me about you growing up and all that stuff.
Oh, man. So, yeah, here I am in Moore, Oklahoma, but, I'm originally from a small town, northeast Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. You know where Tulsa is. You go about 50 miles north of there, you run into a town called Dewey, Oklahoma. And grew up there, living out in the country, went to elementary school, high school, mm-hmm. Dewey. Loved to play baseball, loved to fish. My dad taught me how to play golf. And all the way through high school, I was a multi-sport type of guy just because you had to, I felt like. Absolutely enjoyed every bit of it, and still have really good, obviously, relationships from high school days. But, life in high school is really fun, and we can all talk about it, and because we don't have a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah,
it makes it a lot easier and a lot more fun to think about. But life really, started. I graduated in 2001, and right before that, actually, my junior year in high school, an Army recruiter calls me up, and he said, "Hey, Thurman, what do you think about joining the Army?" I said, "Sounds pretty good." And he was kind of taken back because he thought, well, this is not the normal spiel he gets. And he goes, well, let me just ask you a few quick questions. He asked me the easy knockout questions, which was no issue. And he goes, well, what do you think? And I said, well, just tell me when and where I need to sign up at, and we'll make this thing happen. So next thing you know, I'm down in Oklahoma City, and I'm at the recruit station. I'm swearing in. I'm figuring out what I'm going to do. I joined the military my junior year of high school, which then required me to go to basic training in between my junior and senior year. So I stepped out having a great time.
Yeah.
I did Army basic training for 9 weeks, took up my whole summer, came back, did my senior year, and I enrolled at the University of Oklahoma. And then instead of having a great time that summer before my freshman year of college, I went to Fort Lee, Virginia, and did another 9 weeks of training with the military. And then I hustled myself back home to make sure I got home in time for the start of college, which was a dream come true. One of the first people in the family to get to go, and got in. So not everybody's a great test taker, I'm one of those guys. I'm a great test taker if you give me plenty of time. But luckily, though, I was strong enough academics through high school that my GPA, I think it was like a 3.9 something, shot me up there, and always a way to figure out a way to get into something, right? So ended up at the University of Oklahoma, and then, of course, I had a great freshman year, figuring out the landscape. Had a sweet mate there. His name's Cody Clark. Still my best friend to this day. So great relationship. Went through that freshman year, just having a great time. And then, September 11th happened.
Oh, wow.
And, of course, I'm in the Army, right? I'm in the Army Reserve. And so September 11th happened, and we're thinking, this is going to get crazy. And kind of drug out through that whole year. I didn't go anywhere that year. Always on my mind. And then finally on Valentine's Day in 2003, my phone rings, and we just got put on notice. And so I had to report to my reserve station, which was in Independence, Kansas. And so from the time about February 14th, 2003, all the way to about June of 2004, I was on active duty. And so I remember just calling my VA counselor at OU, which, by the way, is, veterans going to school need another VA counselor. This lady was absolutely amazing. I pick up the phone and call her, and I said, "Hey, I've just been activated. I don't think I can keep going to school." And she said, "Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'll take care of everything for you. Just come and get your stuff, and after you get your stuff out of your dorm, you let me know, and then I'll take care of everything else for you."
Amazing.
And so she, absolutely made that thing simple, right? And so sure enough, next thing you know, I'm 21 years old, and I'm driving a truck with 7,000 gallons of fuel in it, driving down an MSR, which is a main supply route in Iraq, helping fuel things, and found myself in Balad, Iraq. Really, right at the start of the war, we took over the airfield there. And so, my first week in Iraq was setting up tents, filling sandbags, sleeping on the ground or sleeping on top of our fuel tankers because it was cooler, whatever those things were. And so as a young kid, and I'm so happy I was young, because we did some absolutely stupid stuff. We also did some, just stuff that I think we handle a lot better, when we're younger. Maybe our minds are not as strong, but got to go through that year. An advantage to me, my brother was with me. We were in the same reserve unit. That's so amazing. I don't know where all the Saving Private Ryan stuff comes from, but we slept next to each other. And I was thinking, man, maybe one of us won't have to go. But no, sure enough, we're both sitting there. And have a lot of good brothers still around here that went to Iraq with us. Good relationships come out of that. And, next thing you know, that year goes by. Very hard year, very up and down year. You figure out you're spending Christmas, not just in another country, but in a way you've never done it. Thanksgivings, 4th of July, all the holidays that I've always got to enjoy, and we just had to enjoy those a different way. So that was kind of for a young Thurman, that was kind of a deal, but come out of that thing relatively unscathed, you know. It was a good deployment. And, of course, you come home to a party, right? You know, you got friends waiting on you that you haven't seen in a year, 18 months. Have a party, having some beverages. And that's really where I met my wife that night. So that was probably like, I don't know, June 2004. The next thing you know, it's October of 2004, and I proposed to her. And I really kind of messed that deal up because she was a college softball player. And she was went to NEO for 2 years. And then the coach at Rollins College in Florida recruited her. She finished out her high school or her college there. So here I am in Florida, got a diamond ring in my pocket, right? And I'm thinking, we're going to go to the beach. Mike, I've got it all lined up, right? You got this dream lined up, but at the same time, I'm thinking I got an expensive ring in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long I can keep it in here. Bro, we didn't even make it to the car. I did it in the apartment. Out of all the places in Florida to do this at, right? I do it in the apartment. We still go to the beach. We still have a good time. We still go to dinner. Yeah. But if I had a redo, I feel like that's a good redo I could get.
Yeah.
But I think I hit a home run on the ring. You know, I think it was all there. But I had just kind of knew what I wanted. You know, she knew obviously as well. Been married 17 years. So that's been really, really great. But it's one of the better things, obviously, that happened. And so the neat thing there is of course, I came back from Iraq and I'm like, it's time to go back to school. Just pick up where you left off at, mm-hmm. You know. I'm 22. I don't know any better. I re-enroll, call up my VA counselor, and I kid you not, I didn't have to do anything other than that. Yeah. She re-enrolled me. I came right back to school. And she was sure to tell all the professors where I've been, what I've been doing. And so I did my first semester. Well, I was about a 3.3 student. I wasn't terrible. Mm-hmm. 3.3 went down to like a 2.3 real quick. And I'm thinking, that's okay. I'm going to retake this class, which I did. And I struggled through a semester. I go into the next semester, and it gets about 2.5 months into that spring semester, and I get a call from the dean's office. And they said, hey, Thurman, you got an appointment with the dean today. No, I haven't made an appointment with the dean today. No, I know you haven't made it, but we have time slot for you, and we know you're here. Come by and see us after your class. Okay, I can do that. So I walk into the dean's office not knowing at all what's getting ready to come my way. And her name's Dean Carney. Great lady. So I sat down at the dean's office. Dean Carney looks at me, and she goes, Thurman, we see what you got going on here. And your before GPA and your now GPA aren't lining up, and we feel like you have some issues. So I'm like, well, that's the first I've heard about him, you know, right? What kind of issues we got going on? She goes, well, your VA counselor here, she has your attendance. We see that you're not missing class. We see that you're here, front row. You're getting help, but you're not making the grades that you should make. I mean, we know the grades you should make. You've been here long enough. So she looked me dead in the eye and said, you're welcome to come back anytime you want. You got a free pass on everything, but you're wasting a spot. You're wasting money. You need to go get help. And that's kind of the first time in PTSD that I realized, well, dang, I guess I got a problem. Not only that, all that's hitting me all at once, I'm like, well, hold on. I just asked my wife to marry me. Right? This is like March. We're getting married in August. What I got to call her. It was on her last semester in Florida to go, hey, I just got asked very nicely to leave the University of Oklahoma. Dean Carney was nice enough to refund every bit of my money for that semester. They took great care of me. Phenomenally took great care of me. And at that time, I did have some struggles. I was almost an alcoholic. I slept with a gun underneath my pillow every night. I slept on the couch. I did things that I can't believe I did, just because I didn't know how to be comfortable. I didn't know how to be safe. And obviously, alcohol tries to help kill that. Plus, I'm in college, so there's alcohol everywhere, right? It's not like the college kid might drink alcohol, but it's everywhere. So it was a nightly thing. Still didn't stop me from getting up to do my job, because at that point I'm a soldier and I have a mission and I have a task. I can check those boxes. And honestly, I would have checked them enough to get by, but that wasn't good enough. And she knew that. So at that point, I had my first meltdown, right? I mean, right in her office. I'm talking, we have big tears. We have lots of things going on. And then I had to call my wife and say, hey, I can't do this. Do you still want to marry me? Does this still look like a good idea? And of course, she said yes. So we, got married August, 2005. Not anything special, with some friends, some rowdy friends. I don't know how we had like 300 people show up at our little wedding reception in a small town called Oshaleta, Oklahoma, which is just by Bartlesville and such. But it was a fun wedding. We had a great time. Then after that, you got a kid that had big dreams of being a petroleum geologist or energy management guy. Obviously, business was something that I wanted to get in and pursue at the university, but the brakes got put on, pretty hard. Struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder, figuring out how to navigate life, coming to the realization that I do need a counselor. I do need a therapist. I do need maybe some medication to get me by. So enrolled in the VA healthcare. Yes, I know it's government healthcare, but it's hard to struggle with mental health. I know we talk about it way more now than we did, and even if I go back to 2006, 2005, when I was probably on my worst struggle. And when I tell this story, I tell a lot of people, I don't think this is normal either, Mike, but I can tell without a shadow of a doubt there's 3 people I can owe my life to why you and I can sit here and talk on this podcast. That started with Dean Carney at the University of Oklahoma. Like, somehow God put someone in charge of me to look over what I had going on and say, hey, you need to help this kid. And then obviously my wife, she could have left at any time, because I didn't have a lot going for me at that point in time. It was like I had the bright future, and then my bulb burned out real fast. And then the first therapist I ever saw, her name was Dr. Ranger. And I don't know if Dr. Ranger, I've been a very long time since I talked to her, but I made it no exceptions to go see her twice a week for I don't even know how long. Up until the time, my wife walks in with one of those little test strips, and says, hey, we're pregnant, which was exciting. You get all those emotions. But I made a decision real quick. That was like in February. And at that point, I'm still taking whatever Dr. Ranger wants me to take every day. But I also am sitting here battling this thing in my head, like, do I have to take these all the time? You know, you got to graduate, right? You got to graduate. So I walked into her office and said, hey, one, we're having a baby. Nothing's wrong with me. We're good. But I want to stop taking medication. I want to start doing more for myself. And I want to try to graduate. You know, I don't want to see you anymore. And that was the day that I walked out of that. That was in Tulsa at a VA clinic, and wanted to make sure when my daughter was born that I didn't want her growing up seeing Dad taking, even though it's nothing wrong with it. To me though, I didn't want her to see her doing all that, and it was a kind of a launch that I needed to kind of get that going, to see, can I do this on my own for a little bit? And the answer to that question is absolutely yes. You can do that on your own. I further learned out in life is that, hey, checks and balances are good too, right? Check in with me, come back and see me, do that, because once we become confident, we kind of forget the things that got us to some places. So, so next thing you know, what does any non-college kid in Oklahoma do? I feel like you join oil and gas field. Because I got a wife. She's going to school, by the way, to be a nurse. I got a kid on the way. She wants to have a nice house. I get it. I do too. And so I have to make that thing that we're all here chasing is money. And I decided to go be a roughneck, you know, on a drilling rig. Hard work, no problem. I can check that box. But it's not a fun life to live. Away from your family 7 to 10 days at a time, working the worst 12-hour shift. It doesn't matter if your daylights or your nighttime. You're never clean. And the one thing that I can't stand from being in Iraq is being dirty. Okay, I was dirty for a year. Sand, my wife loves going to the beach. I absolutely love the water. It is amazing. But the sand, it almost sets me back. It gets everywhere. You can't ever get it all out of your shoes. But anyway, so yeah, oil and gas, raising a family, getting after it. And good things happen there, though. One roughneck job turned into a well site geology job. Well site geology for 14, almost 15 years, I think. That company had like 10 people in it when I started here out of Norman. Called Mid-Continent Well Logging. Still a great place. And next thing you know, we got like 150 employees. And I got 36 mobile units or more throughout the state of Oklahoma and some other states. And what these guys do is these rigs are drilling for oil and gas. We analyze the rock cuttings of the formation they're drilling. We record the gas readings coming out of the well bore. All that cool stuff. That is cool if you like that stuff. Love that. Got in on that so early. Went up through the ranks. Next thing you know, I'm in charge of sales and operations and coming up with new things. Very comfortable in my job. In fact, so comfortable in the way that I thought, there's no way, no matter what the price of oil and gas is, there's no way I'm losing my job. 2016 proved that theory all wrong, right? I walk in the door and that was my last day to walk in the door in March. And by this time, I don't just have one kid, I got two. You know, my daughter's Ashton, she's 14. My son Gehrig was born in 2012. And that's named him after Gehrig, Lou Gehrig. Big baseball player, so the name Thurman, people are like, oh my gosh, that's a great name. Where did you get it at? Well, my dad named me after a Yankee baseball player. And so my daughter...
Thurman Thomas.
Yeah, not Thurman Thomas, no. I would make a lot more friends up in Stillwater if that were the case. And of course, everybody called me that growing up too, right? But they don't know who Thurman Munson is. And then of course my wife wouldn't let me name my daughter Mickey or any of these Yankees that I had to, like, hey, I got to do this, right? And so, but Gehrig was born, and we knew right away he was going to be Gehrig. I wanted Gehrig Lou. She wouldn't give that to me, but I was happy we got Gehrig. And now he's got to grow up just like his dad. When people ask him, hey, what's your name? And he says Gehrig, and they go, Gary? Gehrig, and he goes, Garrett? And so now he just goes with whatever anybody calls him.
Goes by G.
Yeah, or we call him G all the time. That's what everybody calls him. Whereas I have to tell people, what's your name? Thurman. Okay, can you spell that for me? Yes, I can. Which is fine. So I gave him a little bit of that curse. So yeah, super scary. Walk in, anything that I've ever known. Mind you, I still don't have that degree. Because life goes. Life goes. There's like 70 college credit hours there, supposedly in good standing. Life goes. By this time, my wife's a nurse practitioner, so at least I got that going for me. It's she's graduated all that she needed to do, and she's out, serving hospitals, serving people, doing her thing, and we're trying to figure out what the next step is. And all of a sudden, like one day, an application shows up or a job thing shows up in my email, and I hadn't applied for a job in 5 years. Because it was easy for me to just, with the relationships I had, to get another oil and gas job, even though I knew that's not what I wanted. But it filled the bucket for now, And knew I needed something, and after working for somebody for 14, 15 years, then they tell you got to go. It hurt. You know what I mean? It hurt. And I, as a business owner, especially now, I totally get that. It was the right move. It was the move they needed to make. At that time, I didn't get that. I was mad, right? As we all get when we get things taken away from us. But so all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm at this big job interview place where it's like, hey, come and see what we got. I don't even know what I'm showing up to, Mike. That's how vague this thing is. But something in there drew me in. And the next thing you know, I'm in this health insurance office, and they're talking about saving people money, health insurance. And at that time, that's when the government healthcare rolled out, healthcare.gov. And in Oklahoma, that was great one year, but that second year, I think everybody's premiums went up like $1,000, and this whole state was in a meltdown. And so this was an underwritten coverage, and you could save people this money if they qualified, and if, and this is how all this works. I realized two things at that point. I like helping people. I'll give this a go. The other thing I realized is I hate health insurance. I absolutely despise it. I can't help people as much as I want because they're inevitably going to have a claim on their underwritten health insurance coverage, and they're going to call me and ask me why. Why is this not this way? Why? I don't know if anybody's ever seen their health insurance policy jacket, so to speak, as we have in the regular P&C insurance world. Okay, mine's like 20 pages. I can tell you all that. Over there, I can't. And it makes me feel helpless. And especially if they're helpless, right? They're wanting answers, and I can't give that. So I really quickly, within about 6 months, decided that's not what I like doing. I still like being able to help the folks financially if they understood everything and they were in the right spot. Writing the insurance and doing the business, easy part, but realize, man, that's not my jam. But thinking, hey, somehow I understand insurance pretty dang good. I bet I could be a good property and casualty. How do I, and I'm driving, you see them everywhere, especially, farmers, if I feel like they're on every corner, State Farm, AllState. So how do I get my name on one of those doors? Those folks got to do good, right? can't be that hard. So I start asking around, and I interview with farmers. I interview with State Farm, and my daughter's a huge softball player at this point in time, and she's probably 10, 11. And one of the moms on the softball team she's playing for picks up the phone and calls me and says, no friend of mine is going to go work for Farmers or State Farm. You need to talk to this guy about AllState, because she worked for an AllState agent. Okay, perfect. So, that's it'll be 5 years ago this June, 2018, when we opened up. But so here it is, probably 2017, when I talked to an AllState recruiter, and I like what I see. And I start going through that process. And Mike, I don't know in life, especially after losing a job and stuff, if you ever wrote down your assets and liabilities on a sheet of paper, then you got to turn that in to somebody who's going to try to get you an SBA loan or something, so you can go into business, for yourself, because all these things require capital. I remember writing that down on a piece of paper, looking over at my wife and going, well, this was a good effort, at least we tried it. I don't think I don't know what all these numbers necessarily mean, but I don't think anybody's going to give us any money over this. So I sent it in, and sure enough, these guys call me back 3-4 days later and say, hey, this isn't going to be a problem. We're going to make this happen. And I'm like, oh, dang. I got to get serious about this then, Okay, so we passed the litmus test, I guess. And, I just remember looking over at my wife like, okay, this is $120,000. That's a lot of money. What happens? She's like, what happens if this doesn't work out? And I'm like, well, I'm glad somebody asked the question, right? Well, I said, I guess all we got to do is make the mortgage payment, right? I mean, you work, make the mortgage, enough to bring some food. I said, I think I can go work anywhere. I think I can do anything to make that happen. If that's all we got. That's what failure looks like. And for me, I've learned along the way that if I learn what failure looks like before I jump in, and I know I'm comfortable with that, I feel like I can do whatever I want to do. Because I have an idea of what's the worst that can happen here. And that was one of those moments where I thought, well, the worst thing that can happen here is, yes, I owe the government $120,000, but I mean, shoot, who cares? They can't take the house. They're not going to stop our kids from doing whatever they want to do. We can figure this out. So here I go, marching in to the AllState training. And just so happens at that same time, we decided, you know what else we need to do? We need to foster kids. Which was the purpose of, we lived in this, I lived in Claremore for some time while my wife was going to school. Then we oil and gas brought me back to Oklahoma City, where we had bought a little bitty house in Moore when we first got married. It's like 850 square feet, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And this was in 2012. Okay, I know house selling is great right now. Not as good as it was 6 months ago or a year ago. But if you were around 2012, your day on market was like 180, And I was trying to sell a house on 5 acres that would have sold in half a day 6 months ago for $250,000, which was sold for probably $600, Same house. We couldn't get this thing sold. So that property we bought in Moore, we had been renting it. So I said, hey, we're going to live at this property. I'll remodel it for you, because it's not in the greatest part of the world. When you buy your first house, you just buy what you can get. Not in the greatest area. And I said, we won't live here but for 6 months. We'll get this house sold. 6 months turned into like 3.5, 4 years. And she's ready to get out of this house. So anyway, we moved into a bigger house, but also think of, we know we're not going to grow our family, but can we help other families? So, like a 5-bedroom house, and that was to foster kids. And so we foster some kids, and of course, the first set of fosters that come our way, my wife's Cherokee Indian, so we are, I guess we're on the tribal side of fostering kids. We got that advantage. We can do both DHS or IHS. Is a set of brothers and sisters. There's 3 of them. So most people are like, hey, just take the one kid, right? But once you see 3 kids, one of them's like a year and a half old, the other one's like 7 years old, 6 years old, and the other one's 9. And you see their faces, you can't say no to them. So in the middle of me being gone for like 3 weeks at a time and 10 days at a time, and my wife is being superwoman and taking our kids to school, making sure our kids don't lose anything that they had already been getting, right? Practices, all that. Oh, by the way, taking the foster kids to their school, to their appointments, because they come with some appointments, I'll tell you that. But and then meeting all the qualifications for DHS and IHS, and doing all that while I was gone, which was just unreal. And I remember I was in one of my final classes with AllState, and I think I can say this now. The guy told me never to tell anybody then. I had to be in Chicago for like 13 days. And it's down towards the end, and it's an important school to go to at that point in time. And there's like 2 or 3 days left. And there's this big banquet downstairs. They got this nice ice carving in this hotel, the works. And I'm in the corner. I'm ready to be home. I'm crying. Because I know my wife's, she's working unbelievably hard, but she's got to be like to the top of her, like, somebody come help me, right? I'm crossing the line of being a bad husband, you know what I mean? A bad partner, real quick. And this guy with AllState, amazing guy, he sees me and he pulls me aside and he goes, what's going on? I said, man, my wife's at home with these foster kids. And he goes, Thurman, don't you tell a soul, but I'll put you on a flight home right now. Right now, you just let me know. I said, well, let me call my wife. I don't want you to give me special treatment if I don't have to. Let me call my wife. So I call my wife. She calms me down. I get homesick pretty doggone easy when I'm away from the folks I love, especially after being home from Iraq. But so she calms me down. She's like, listen, at this point, a day is not going to make a difference. You're good. Finish your school. Do all that. So I go back and tell this guy, man, I appreciate your act of kindness. I really, really do. But we stay and ride that out. And it was, and I'm glad I did. I made more connections, helps business. And those are the little things that it seems like people remember you the most about, right? You could be as successful as I want to be in AllState, right, in business, but that guy's not going to remember me for that. He's going to remember me for that conversation. Yeah. So June 2018 comes, we get through that. Yes, we're still fostering kids. We're opening up a new business. And this thing, AllState, Thurman Lynch AllState is born, we hit the ground running. And I mean running. All I knew was to do what my sales leader told me to do. And I trusted that guy with every bit of fiber in my body to go, okay, you have a game plan, I'm going to follow your game plan. Because one, I don't know property and casualty insurance. I think I can sell it. I understand the demand. I understand all the analytics and picked out this amazing location here in Moore, Oklahoma. But, God, how do you market it? How do you do all that? So I just trusted this guy that I've only known. And of course, he's just recruiting me, right? He wants me, he's got to meet a sales goal of recruiting so many people. But I jump in and my $120,000 shrinks to like $6,000, Mike. I'm talking, that was June when I opened. In August, my $120,000. Okay, I'm the richest guy I know with $120,000. It's down to like $8,000. I remember looking at my bank account, calling him like, hey, when do we really start getting paid? Right? The numbers got to stay, just be patient. That's going to, first check comes in, and I mean, it's like $80,000. So here we go. Boom, refills my account. Does that mean insurance companies or insurance agents make $80,000 a month? No. That means if I'm on a new agent contract, they bonus you really heavy up front because I started this thing with 0 policies. Meaning I had nobody renewing a policy in the first month, right? So we have to build up some income somehow, and AllState has to invest heavy in you. But at the same time, I have to invest that money right back into what I got, or else we don't get anywhere, right? And put 80 grand in my pocket, call it good and walk away. Or, so we have to do this thing. So I was on a new agent contract for about 3.5 years. And actually 23 now. So 2022 was my first full year. Well, it ended actually at the start. So it's my first year off a new agency contract. So we finished up writing up, through those 3.5 years, right at $2.4 million in total premium here at AllState. Finished this year. I think we're going to finish close to $3.4 million on the total book size. And it kind of blows me away. I obviously have my sights set pretty high, and I see these guys with $6 million, $7 million, $8 million books. And I was talking to this big AllState agent out in Utah, and he's just really smart. I like some of his processes, and he said, "Thurman, have you thought about what you've done?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean? You have 2 offices, and you're worth about $20 million in premium, between those 2 offices that are like 3 hours away. This guy's like a machine, And he said, there are agents that have offices for 30 years that don't do what you just did in 3 years. You gotta think about that, and it kind of just set me back, blew me away. But running this thing has been a complete blessing. I love running. I wanted my name on a door of something because I love running a team, and got the same guys from the day I've opened my doors in here. So every time somebody calls in, they get a familiar voice. They like it. I treat them well. You'll probably appreciate this, or the folks back home will appreciate this. I don't track hours. I don't track sick time. I don't track days off. I don't track vacation. Yes, I have a handbook that has all that laid out. I don't care if they're under. I don't care if they're over. I just care that they're happy. I had one young lady had a baby, 3 months paid off. And then so all the agents around here want to go, well, how do you keep your employees? How do they do so well? And I was like, you're not going to like my answer to that.
Right? It's going to cost you money. Or you may think it's going to cost you money.
Yes, and it does cost me money, but how much? I'm not Rockefeller, right? How much money is enough? Just a little bit more than what I got. That's not me. I just need to be comfortable. That's how much money I need, right? That's the type of life I want to live. How can I can't, you can't even start to give back to the community if you can't give back to the people that work for you. That's like the biggest thing. And it's also heartbreaking, right? If boss is over here cutting $10,000 checks to whatever groups, it's one thing if it's advertising. It's another thing, Mike, if it's like CHF. It's not really advertising, right? Yes, they're going to put my name on some stuff, but I don't have a bucket of clients from that. That's because that's a different meaning for me, right? Or the K Club with Keaton Barone or Luke Barone and his wife. It's different meaning. These guys see that, right? And so if I can't start my giving with them, it's really hard. Really, really hard to give elsewhere. So I make that a point, and I think that's my favorite thing in all this is not what I get from it, what they get from it, and then me getting to talk to people like you and say, "Gosh, I think my insurance producers are going to make $80,000 this year selling insurance." picking up the phone, answering phone calls. They're not in the fields working. We're 8 to 5. And there's a reason I did 8 to 5, because I got kids. And that's selfish. But guess what? They have kids. So I want to make it easy. I don't work Saturdays. Do people write a lot of business on Saturdays? Absolutely they do. But happy employees make for what? I mean, good business, good service, good all those things. So, that's a little bit of look, a little bit of look into my journey. I know there's a lot more things that I'd love to sit here,
Yeah.
and visit with, that we could do this for a long time. But
Yeah, definitely.
tell me, what have I missed, man? What have I missed for you?
I mean, I think there's one other guest, maybe two, that I've had in 490 something episodes that have just ran with it like you have and laid it out like you have. It's a gift. So thank you for making my job really, really easy, because I've just got to sit here for 45 minutes and enjoy you talk about your entire process and story. And it makes a lot of sense where your success comes from when you lay it out like that. I want to go back though. What was the decision to join the military?
My dad was a Vietnam veteran.
Okay.
My grandfather, World War II veteran.
Okay.
In the South Pacific. So, and then my brother, a year before, had joined.
Yeah.
So, honestly, it was no thought. It was literally no thought. Hey, Thurman, want to join the military? Absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
And I went with it. And I chose the reserve for a reason, because I wanted to go to college. I wasn't the guy that wanted to do it just to get college paid for. Mm-hmm. That was not the intent. That was a benefit. For sure, that was a benefit. But that's not why I did it. I did it just because every fiber of my being wanted me to do it.
Yeah.
Which was great.
Yeah.
As far as helping me, that's a roller coaster too, in a way, because you come back and you think you're invincible.
Sure.
You know more than everybody. By the way, I'm 22, so I automatically know more than a lot of people. And you learn a lot of things the hard way, right? Then go into your 30s and you're eating a lot of humble pie and you're realizing, hey, all that training I had when I was 22, that was really good leadership training. Mm-hmm. And then you start realizing, how can I put that to use in my life right now? And I think that's really when unlocking some things, like I said, failure, because what was failure in the military, right? I mean, they're going to tell you the world's worst thing. That's someone dying, and all of these things, when that's not necessarily failure in the real world. So I don't have to be that intense, but I can run through that thought process. I can be more of the calm guy, which some of my friends are going to listen to this and go, yeah, right, man. Yeah, right. Because they've known me for a long time. They've seen me do things that go like, I can't even believe that guy has you on a podcast, but there's been some struggles, but no, that was my military reason. And after just 10 years of it and having a family, struggling with the post-traumatic stress, it was just best to go, hey, I want to be done with this.
Right. Why OU over OSU or over any other college?
The reason why probably most Oklahoma kids are OU. That's my family. I can remember my grandmother sitting on the porch. Okay, she's fighting cancer, lung cancer, and smoking a cigarette, because we didn't know any better back in '93. Okay, and with her OU shirt on.
Yeah,
that lady didn't miss a single game. It was a big deal. We watched OU sports growing up every chance we could get. I don't know. That was just them. And so when I set my sights out, I did tour a couple of colleges, but there was only one Oklahoma school that I toured. And unfortunately, even after I toured at like Colorado School of the Mines, because apparently I did good on something. Like I said, GPA was really nice, and I thought about, hey, let me go out of state. But I picked OU, and OU had meteorology, which was, when I left high school, Mike, I was going to be a meteorologist.
No way.
I was going to be a meteorologist. I remember, actually, Mr. Rodaball, my chemistry teacher, my Chem 1, my Chem 2, my physics teacher, he wrote a deal down and said, Lynch, I want to see you on TV. Can you do it in 6 years? Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Rodaball, that didn't happen. But, and I'll tell you why. That was the military side of me. Even though at that time I hadn't been to Iraq, but I'd been to basic training, I'd been to this, and I was better than some things. So I can remember my second whole day of college, sitting down in the meteorology room, and this professor telling me everything I was going to do with my time and how we were going to do this. And of course, it's the class to say who wants to stay, who wants to go. Yeah. And I'm not going to sit around with all the nerds at that time, right? No, I'm out. I walked right into my counselor and said, we're changing this major. She goes, it's been 2 days. Yeah. Listen, this is what I want to do. So.
Brilliant. But yeah, it makes sense then, obviously, the OU thing. And I'm sure family's super proud that you went, you got accepted, went to OU, and that was a huge moment. Absolutely.
I still remember that day. Yeah. My mom actually brought up my acceptance. I was on the yearbook in high school, and she brought it in. That's the relax hour, right? So she knew we could go right on in there and giving me a hug and just absolutely enjoying it.
Yeah,
absolutely enjoying it.
Tell me about when obviously like you're in college and you September 11 happens, because I remember that day being in the UK because we're 6 hours ahead, right? So it was the afternoon for us. We were just going home from school. I remember seeing it on the news and stuff. But obviously, like you're in the reserves at this point. Like you are like, you're waiting for a phone call, like you said. Like, what was that experience?
Oh God, it was scary. Yeah. I mean, it was scary, but you had so many mixed emotions of like. You're thinking somebody messed up, right? This is not going to end the way that whoever did this thinks this is going to end. And then at the same time, it's the University of Oklahoma. It's Norman. Okay, this is not your average Oklahoma college. Okay, it's not it's not a red school. Okay, it's a very well diverse mix. And they got their international scholars and all that. And I am telling you, the protests fired up by that day. And we had to assemble. I was in ROTC at the time. And we had to assemble. And I mean, just me putting on my BDUs and walking over there, people were yelling in my face. There were already anti-war folks out that day, and I could not believe it. We had a battalion full of ROTC kids ready to go fight, and half of these ROTC kids, not even half, 90% of them, never done a single day in a military life, whereas I was a little bit different. I'm already sworn in. These kids are just learning military and training to be military officers, and they became great officers, but I mean, we were ready to go. So that day, I mean, I still remember coming from Adams Tower, across the street, walking up to the South Oval, and there they were. It was absolutely crazy. You obviously, you get up that morning and you're like, are we going to go to class? I guess we're going to go to class. But by the time we get to the bottom of the elevator, the campus had shut it down, rightfully so, as I think every school in America did that day. But yeah, no, that's when I realized, okay, I know what I signed up for. I really did. But at the same time, I was like, my unit is a supply unit. Okay, fuel, water, and supply. And everybody's seen the movie with Pauly Shore in it when he's the water guy, right? So I mean, this should be pretty safe. Well, it turns out I learned as a 20-year-old, 21-year-old. We were the 10/11th quartermaster company, C/S. I didn't know what C/S stood for. It stands for combat supply. So here I am, rolling tankers, rolling trucks, rolling fuel units, all the way through Baghdad and going north to Balad.
Basically driving a bomb.
Oh yeah, you're driving.
You are the target.
You got that. And then, honestly, the military was stretched, and so we get there, and I know how to fuel stuff. Right, I'm on the fuel platoons. There's a water platoon. They're purifying water. They're turning for folks to have some sort of shower. But yeah, next thing you know, they're going, hey, we need a QRF. We need a quick reaction force. Okay. You guys are going to do that. Oh, okay. So I have combat training. I have basic. They call it basic combat training for a reason. It's pretty basic. It's pretty damn basic. I don't have urban combat training. I don't even have 11 Bravo, infantry training. But I know how to shoot my weapon, and we know how to make everything happen. Then the next thing you know, we need you guys to do convoy security for all the supplies that were coming from BIOP, which is Baghdad International Airport at the time, to here. Then we have to take them and disperse them. So we'd have to escort our own convoys, which was where the real danger was. But I'll tell you, we got up there in April. And by that time, the third idea had kind of rolled through and just steamrolled everything, right? And there were some hot spots like in Fallujah, but nothing where we were. I remember rolling down the road. I don't have my helmet on. I don't even have my flak vest on or plates. It's hanging on the door. My weapon is sitting here to my side. The magazine's in it, but it's not loaded. Okay? There's nothing in the chamber. And we're driving down the road just like we had been for the last month, and all of a sudden someone starts shooting, and they start shooting a lot. And I remember looking over at I was driving, and I remember looking over at my co-driver going, holy shit, someone's shooting at us. And
this is actually real now.
This is actually really real. Yeah. And then at that point in time, it was game on. Yeah. You know what I mean? We were running. We were I could put this jacket on. We got next thing you know, our rifles are pointing out the windows of everything. And it was at that point in time was a different game. It was a different game. At one point in time, I got mortared for 80 straight nights.
Jeez.
I remember the first night getting mortared, scared to death.
Yeah.
Scared to death. Then you realize these guys aren't really good at aiming them, which is scary in itself. Okay, you know what I mean? But so they would run around the base and try to shoot mortars out of the back of moving trucks. But you would hear them. And then you kind of got to the point where it's how does that one sound? That's way far away from me. I'll go back to sleep. So when you become dull to those things, I think I tell that people the best on, what's post-traumatic stress, how does that, what gets you there? And it's when you become pretty dull to very serious danger,
yes.
And we could tell it too, we're at month 12 of, we're just waiting to go home any day. And we got new troops, new soldiers coming in. And at that time, they had sirens when the mortars would go off. Always late, but they had them. We had bunkers in between our tents. We were still there so early, we stayed in tents the whole time. The cabins and the little trailers came in where all the new soldiers got to stay. I'm still not upset about that. Air conditioning, all that good stuff. Anyway, there's the sirens going off, the mortars. They're not close to us. We can hear it. It's 8 a.m. And in between our tents were these big concrete bunkers that you could go get in if you liked. Well, we just used them to brush our teeth and spit our toothpaste into. We never got in a day in our life. I wake up and sirens are going off, and one of the guys is sitting at the opening of the tent smoking a cigarette, and he's just staring. And I'm like, hey, Levi, what are you staring at, man? He goes, look. So I come out and look, and our whole little concrete bunker is filled with folks. All these new soldiers, all these new troops. They're scared to death. And I was like, God, remember when we used to be that scared? Man, look at those guys. I mean, we're making fun of these guys for having a completely normal human reaction, right? To where 13 months later, you just go, hey, if a mortar's got my name on it, then it's got my name on it. We'll go on about our business.
Yeah.
You do. So that's what I kind of tell people. That's when, you got a little post-traumatic stress issue.
Yeah.
You do things, you become pretty numb to things.
Yeah, but like you said, like when you're going through your 30s, eating a bit of humble pie, right? And you're kind of thinking about, back when you were in the military, and that was great leadership experience. Like, okay, you had a period where you had to figure your life out, and thankfully you pulled yourself through that, and you had great people around you, like you said, your wife, Dean Carney, Dr. Ranger, all those people. But the lessons you learned have clearly made you what you are today.
100%. Right? Yeah, no, 100%. It sometimes just takes you a little bit to realize that's a lesson too, right? Mm-hmm. You hear people say, hey, God's got a plan for you, right? You just sure he does. Yeah. Just takes a while to figure it out sometimes. Or the right people around you. And to realize to where I used to coach a lot of softball with my daughter. She's 14, and the kid has a competitive spirit like a D1 football athlete. That's her competitive mindset. Yeah. It's unreal. But I would tell the girls all the time, like, what makes someone wise, right? You've heard the term, what makes someone wise, right? That's just almost anyone that's lived a life that can reflect back on it and go, God, what could I have done better, and how can I apply that going forward? That makes me a wise person. That's what that is, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to use my life experience. I think the wiser people have a crazy life experience, a different life experience. And if we can take those and apply it to what we know, then you got a launching platform at some point, So hopefully you're not 50 when you figure it out, but even then you can still go get it. Yeah.
So tell me about kind of, obviously, I'm not surprised that you, looking back, that you and your wife decided to foster kids. Just knowing you and how I met you is through playing. Okay, it was playing golf, but at the end you were there to raise money for Absolutely. CHF and K Club and other stuff as well. Tell me about that. Tell me about all that side of things, and this is your chance to brag on CHF and all the things why you want to spend your time and your energy giving back to that, because I know it's a great organization, and what Jeremiah and the team there are doing great things, but people listening might not. So as a now board member, please brag.
So I remember when we first opened, one of the young ladies that worked here, one of her best friends was one of the Miracle Kids. And Madison came by and said, hey, Thurman, I'd like to talk to you about CHF. She introduced me to Jeremiah. And, of course, at that time, I'm like, hey, I'd love CHF, but I just had $8,000 in my bank account. But we still found ways to donate money to CHF to at least start instilling something there, right? One, I'm doing it because Madison beat cancer, as a like 12, 13-year-old kid. And that's just not it's one of those things where I can take all my life experience, Mike, and go, what do you do when your 12-year-old kid has cancer? Yeah. Who do you turn to? Where do you go? And kids we all don't have a choice. But when a kid is diagnosed with something like that, you instantly think about what type of life they got to live and how are they living, and all of those things. And it just pulls at my heart so bad. And obviously, I think that has come through fostering kids, right? What are other ways we can help and really make an impact? So, yeah, we started off slow, and just foster a relationship with Jeremiah and the team, and guys at the K Club, at any organization that is trying to pull it together. And I'm thankful too. I've had some good folks at church that are all about community, that are all about supporting outreach, that are all about making sure those folks out in the community that need that support can get it, and finding ways to get it. And I've always been a huge fan of, if I see something that I think I can fix or help, I'm going to do it. I'll never forget this. My wife and I, this was this weekend. The weekend I proposed to her. Orlando to Tampa is not a far drive, and we're staying at a hotel, and we're walking somewhere to eat dinner. And on the way to dinner, there's a guy sleeping on a park bench. And I just took a mental note. And of course, my wife, okay, she's 21 years old. She doesn't want to be anywhere around that. And that's not because she's a bad person. That's women instinct, right?
Most people.
Right,
Yeah,
absolutely.
most women, yeah.
And for her, women instinct, like, hey, I'm not trying to get taken tonight. But here I go. We go to this dinner, and I start boxing things up. And she said, what are you doing? We're staying at a hotel room. I said, if that guy is still sitting there, I'm getting ready to feed him.
Yeah.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. So I box it up and walk down there, and sure enough, he's there. I feed him, and I wake him up, and I say, hey, I got you something to eat. You don't have to eat it now. It'll be good later. That guy couldn't thank me enough, you know. And my wife's seen me do stuff like that. It's not even funny how many times she's seen me do stuff like that. She thinks I'm crazy sometimes. So I think a lot of it stems from that. And obviously I think everybody gets a little bit of joy when you can give something, anything to someone, and see their heart light up. Not just their face, but you know it's impacted them. And CHF, I just think they have a great mission. You know, it's really simple. And that's the other good part about it, right? There are kids in the state of Oklahoma that are getting diagnosed with cancer all the time. Why uproot those kids and take them to Texas, Tennessee, wherever these other big hospitals are, when we can get the same care and the same things right here in the state? So they do a really good job of heading that up with these hospitals, of getting the right doctors in place to take care of our kids here in Oklahoma. And then not only that, they fund the research, right? Let's not just get our kids through cancer. Let's find a way to just kill it, right? Let's find a way to end childhood leukemia. Let's honestly put some thought and some dollars into that. You know, we have one, and so they're on the point end of the spear of that, you know, of doing that. And I don't know anyone who can sit here and say no to these types of things. I don't care. It doesn't have to be monetary. It could be volunteering. What ways can we help? Who do you know, to do these things? And Jeremiah is just, man, if I could just brag on that guy, my referral group here in Moore, we raise some money. We do philanthropy every year. We were able to donate to Lizzie Bodark and her sharing tree here in Moore, who's just all about giving toys to kids and families, things they need during Christmas. And Jeremiah, we give some to CHF, And Lizzie Bodark, you know you're making an impact in the community when you got someone like her up telling her, like, hey, what this money means and what that's going to go to. And I can look it over at Jeremiah, and it's hitting him right here in the heart, you know what I mean? But he can relate to that as well. You might not always want to be someone, you know, until you walk a mile in their shoes or know where about they've come from and what they do. And there's no doubt on my mind why I realize why he's where he's at, making an impact on people, and why he's not gonna walk by an angel tree without grabbing a name off of it. You know, he's just not gonna do it. That's not the way it came from. And it's there's got the right people running. Now that CHF is also branched off, you know, we can start helping kids in Tulsa that don't even have to come to Oklahoma City now. Those kids are able to kind of stay where they're at. And I think even this year with the Drew Neville thing, the impact that, the influence that CHF is getting. I'm talking, we're bringing in pros.
Big time pros.
That's giving me chills right now.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to come in here and volunteer their time, which is all we want from them, right? Because, man, if we can have an influence, we can make a bigger impact. It's really, to me, it's really that simple. Yeah. We can grow our mission and to get it done. But, you know, this year we're out to really, I am out to raise awareness. And there's so many things, right, we can put our money into. But it's funny when things happen and that you see it. Take the DeMar Hamlin thing. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that guy's a
champ.
That guy's a rock star, isn't he not? I looked at my wife the other day and I said, he's playing football again. I don't think anybody's going to tell him no. But the world watched that unfold, mm-hmm. which just hit him right here, right? Next thing you know, he's got like, I don't know, is it up to $8 million yet?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was up over 7, right?
Yeah.
And there's no doubt he's going to do amazing things with that bucket of money. But that's the type of support and impact that I think CHF is gaining some ground on, because once you grab that and it hits people, I mean, this was right after Christmas, mm-hmm. right? The worst time to ask people for money, right?
Yeah.
Christmas, holidays, and so, but people are out here giving faithfully, and knowing that it's for the right cause and it's the right thing. And, you know, I watched Luke Barone speak at his golf tournament. And I can already tell you I regret in my life not ever getting to meet Keaton. Mm-hmm. That's a wise young soul right there, right? And just hearing that story just immediately impacted me. Like, all of a sudden, I'm like, God, this is really what I want to be doing. Mm-hmm. I love doing this, right? Running this agency. Well, you know, the good thing about having people and paying them well, making sure they have plenty of time off, they love what they're doing. I can walk out of this thing and it still runs. Yeah. It's amazing, right? So I can spend some more of my time where I think I can help make a difference doing those things. And geez, right now there's not a better place that I feel like that I need to be than other than sitting on the sidelines watching some OU football, mainly OU softball, okay? Yeah. But even then, guess what I'm trying to do? Yeah. I'm trying to get those tickets so I can get these kids out to the games. That can go. You know, we're finding ways to let them experience a little bit of life that normal kids get that they don't get, you know? And, you know, that even hit me real hard when someone was like, well, you know, a kid with leukemia, when they get the flu, they go to the hospital. And my kid gets the flu, he stays home from school.
Yeah.
Right? And it still doesn't stop him from trying to play his video games. These kids are up in rooms by themselves. You know, 1 visitor, 2 visitors. The staffs. You know, it's not like a regular hospital where they're all out in the middle and they're all talking, and it's limited, it's special, and everything is like a surgical room. It is neat and clean. And my wife, even she's a nurse practitioner, as a provider, I don't know how she goes to work, does with all that she deals with, and then somehow shakes it all off, leaves it right there at the hospital, and goes right on back. Which is why we foster kids, I think. Yeah. Right, which is why we try to help in any way we can, because she sees it front line. She sees it firsthand.
Yeah.
And every year this is probably going to happen less, but we all grew up a little less fortunate, and I had to go break out a picture of me and my brother with dirt all over us sharing a bag of chips that I don't even know the brand name of from, on a back porch that you'd be lucky to walk across it without falling through it. There were that many holes in it. So we always want better for our kids, yeah. Right? And every year, better. The kids that have it, some of the kids, at least my kids, if they say they have it bad, they're dead wrong, right? They're out of their mind. Yeah. Got to remind them. But there are still kids out there that have it bad. And just like anything, leukemia, cancer, doesn't discriminate, doesn't care who you are. Doesn't care who you are, what you're doing in life, where you're at in life. It just hits. I have a friend, 23 years in the Air Force. He gets out in 180 days, diagnosed with leukemia. It's battles on. Here's this guy's just giving his life, right? It doesn't care who you are. Doesn't care what the timing is. Right? He's thinking, hey, am I going to go work for Boeing? Am I going to go work for Northrop Grumman? What cool place am I going to go work for? No, we got to fight this battle first. And it's a good family friend. And so it's just like, it's not a better place for me to put my stamp of approval on, or to put whatever money I can raise for it, or to put any smile on a kid's face. I tell you what we do at a golf tournament, I think it was the Keaton golf tournament, and they had the girls out there, right? This little young lady was making lemonade with the biggest smile on her face, and of course, just like she's probably 6, spilling it, picking up the ice cubes with her hands.
Those cookies too.
Yeah, the cookies, all the things. But you know what? That was one thing. It just made you laugh. Mm-hmm. I didn't care where that little girl's hands probably been or anything. You drink the lemonade, you eat the food, and you get a hug. You get a picture. You make them feel absolutely special. And I think that's the biggest thing that just, man, it hits me right in the heart. And my office staff even knows, like, hey, I'm out with Children's Hospital Foundation today. Mm-hmm. If you need something, get a hold of me. But they know my passion for it. And real quickly to end that, we went with Jeremiah to the K Club, the gala that they had. My wife's a nurse, okay, so she works 2 jobs. She works neuro ICU at Baptist, and she does stroke coordinating at OU. I'm giving money away like it grows on a tree out here, right? She knows that, but she doesn't know it, right? And she really doesn't. I can tell her, no different than I can tell you. And it's different, I tell you, because you see it, right?
Yeah.
But I can tell her it's for this.
Yeah.
But until I got to take her out to that gala, and I said, babe, you're just going to have to get ready. And don't spend too much money.
Yeah.
Please don't spend too much money tonight. Which it's me saying, get whatever the hell you want, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think it's for a good cause,
do it.
We're not hurting, do it. Because it's a great cause, and sure enough, I have a table. There's not a dry eye at the table.
Yeah.
That's the way that stuff hits you. And I think some of that rewinds back. There's a place in Oklahoma City, it's still here, it's called the Whitefields. Mm-hmm. It's a boys club, boys home. And that is ran by, he owns Sandridge Energy, Tom Ward, and his son. Mm-hmm. And we used to do that forever. So my wife surprised me one year. We go to this big gala for their auctioneer comes out, but they had that year, they had the OU, an aerial from the flyover, the 9/11. OU played a game like that next week, right? Yeah. Like days after 9/11, they still had their game, but we had to stretch a flag all the way across the field. I was down on the field stretching that flag with ROTC, and I saw it hanging up there, and I told my wife, and I said, "Hey, I'm somewhere in that picture. You know, that's I'm somewhere in that picture." And I had some OU football player autographs on it, whatever. And then didn't think anything of it. At the end of the night, we're walking out. She reaches over and she goes, "Look what I got you. You know, I should be hanging up here in my office, but it's at home. But one of those things." And plus, I said, "How much did you pay for this?" She said, "It's for the kids, Thurman. It doesn't matter how much I paid for it. Don't worry about it." And you're right. Let's go on about our business. So I think I've been blessed with, one, marrying the right person that just absolutely loves to make sure she gives back through fostering and whatever calls her. We've been lucky to go, hey, our adventures, we support each other 100%. As long as it's legal, I guess we're good.
Yeah, I mean, from all of this, I think we figured out that your wife's like an absolute superhero.
Oh,
right?
gosh, man. Anybody, you're right there. Anybody that's ever met her is like, you know, the saying, you outkicked your coverage there. Sure. For sure, done that. But, for sure, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Yeah.
For sure, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And my kids, without her, wouldn't be what they are. You know, she's very much the voice of reason in the house, and as she should be.
Yeah.
You know, she deserves way more appreciation than I'll ever deserve in my life.
I think you've done at least a little bit of justice by telling her story today, or telling your story with hers intertwined, saying that she's done so much, because obviously she has, and I'm sure there's many stories that she could probably tell herself. Maybe we need to have your wife on the podcast.
Oh gosh,
we should do that and have back-to-back stories. But mate, it's I'm glad I got to sit down with you. And like I said at the start, it's always fun interviewing friends, because now I know so much more about you. And I know, I never doubted that anyway, of all the stuff, but I never knew any of the stuff that you came up with, the PTSD. And I mean, I could have probably figured out that you hate sand. Like, that's fine. Right. I hate sand too, but not because of the reason that you hate sand. Right. Being in a war zone basically for 18 months. But thank you for taking the time. Thank you for everything you do. There's so many lessons that people are going to learn by listening to this. There's so much resilience, just figuring it out. Your decision to, hey, I want to graduate, I want to get my life back and not take these pills. Right, that's a huge decision to have to make. And you look back on it and all the other stuff that's come from that. And I'm excited to see how this goes and continue playing some golf together, continue doing CHF events, and
absolutely
seeing the business grow too.
No, I think I say this probably every year as a business owner. I think 2023 is going to be challenging. Okay, it's going to be challenging, but we got a team. We're up for the challenge, and I think it's going to be a good year. And that's going to be, for whatever reason, I think God leads us down that path for, and then we'll take it and go. But I'm excited, that's for sure. Yeah.
For people listening, I'll post the link to Thurman's business AllState website in the description, and I'll also post the link to CHF as well, so you can go see those two things we've been speaking mostly about. And anything else you want to say before we finish up?
Anybody's for the folks that are listening, okay. Anybody, we tally up donations for CHF right now, I'll match the first $1,500. Okay. So if we can just set a goal, that'd be great to get $1,500 in donations. That'll be $3,000 to go towards, and then we might even be able to talk to Jeremiah if we can. If we can donate that towards research, then I think the $3,000 could turn into $6,000.
They match.
So yes. I don't know if that's still going on for 2023, but we can find out real easily. Okay. But if not, I'm willing to match first $1,500 and let's see where it goes.
I'll give you $1,500. Let's figure. There's 3,000. How else do we figure that?
Let's
set a goal. $10,000. There we go.
Let's do it.
Nice round number. If the people listening can raise $10,000, we're already at 3,000 plus.
Yep.
So we really need
$7,000.
Yeah.
Which can turn into 20.
Yeah. There it is. All right, let's figure out a link. We'll talk to Jeremiah and get a link for that and set something up, and we can get some.
That'll be awesome.
We can raise some money for
That'll be great.
So awesome. Well, people listening, our link's in the description, and we will catch you next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.